If you've asked 5 different people which certification to get first, you've probably gotten maybe 5 different answers. And well, here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of them were wrong for you specifically, even if they were right for the person actually giving the advice. So by the end of this video, you're gonna have an actual framework, not another opinion to add to the pile for figuring out which certification actually makes sense for where you are right now. Here's what bugs me a bit about most certification advice online. It's a popularity contest. Security Plus gets recommended constantly, and not because someone sat down and thought about your specific situation. It gets recommended because it's the safe answer to give when you don't know anything about the person asking. It's advice optimized for not being wrong, not for actually being right. I had a student a couple semesters back who already passed 3 certifications before she'd ever asked me which role she actually wanted. Smart, hardworking, genuinely put in the hours. And when I asked her, okay, 18 months from now, what job title do you want? She just kind of froze, since she'd been stacking credentials without ever answering the one question that should have come first, right? So here's where we start here. Not which cert. The question is, what job do you actually want in 18 months? Not something in cybersecurity, a specific role. SOC analyst, GRC analyst, cloud security, pen testing. The certification itself that makes sense depends almost entirely on that answer. And most people skip it because picking a role feels scarier than just picking a cert off a list. It's not a distraction from getting started at all. It's basically, the decision. If you generally don't know your direction yet, Security Plus is the right call. And I want to be clear about why. Not because it's magic, right? And because it's broad enough to keep every door open while you figure out what you actually like. If you already know you want GRC or risk work, maybe skip the Security Plus debate entirely and go look at something risk or governance focused. Employers hiring GRC roles care way more about whether you can talk intelligently about frameworks than whether you hold a broad technical cert. Now, if you want hands-on technical work, SOC, blue team, the lab component matters more than the exam itself. If a cert doesn't make you actually configure something or investigate a log, it's teaching you vocabulary, not really a skill. And if you're already in IT and transitioning internally maybe, here's what I'd actually tell you. Your job, your current job, right, is worth more than any cert. Spend less time studying, more time asking your security team if you can shadow an investigation. Here's where I'll push back on the conventional wisdom. Stacking certs early on doesn't compound the way people think it does. I've interviewed candidates with 4 certifications who couldn't explain what any single one of them actually taught them beyond exam content. A hiring manager can tell the difference about 90 seconds between someone who studied for a test, right, and someone who understands the material. It has nothing to do with how many letters are after your name. One certification, deeply understood, tied to a role you can talk about with real conviction, beats 3 certifications you cram for back-to-back every time. And while you're studying for that one cert, build something alongside of it. A home lab, capture the flag write-up, a mock incident you can talk through out loud. The cert proves you can pass a test. The project proves you can think. Hiring managers are increasingly looking for the second thing, and most candidates only bring the first. Drop a comment. Tell me, what certification are you working on, right now? And could you actually explain it in one sentence? Why that one and not a different one? I want to see how many of you can answer that. Subscribe for more of this every single week, and I'll see you in the next one.